on this time?
I am in the airport, so I could flip this around and I'm in the Chicago airport. I just came from Boston.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, so I had a really good time, but I planned my layover so that way I could join everybody in Appy Hour from Chicago. Yeah, great airport here. It's easy to get around.
Yeah, I've been to that Boston airport. Boston or Chicago?
I'm in Chicago now. We were in Boston first. We started over visiting Heather in Newport, and then went over to go over to her horse barn, and then from Newport we went over to Boston, and we stayed there for several days. And we did all of the proper tours. We did history tours, ghost tours, food tours,
Oh.
tea party tours. We checked them all off.
Did you do a duck boat tour?
Oh, a deck boat?
The duck boat, yeah, the duck boat.
Oh, no, I didn't do a duck boat. No, but Branson has duck boats, so I kind of.
Oh,
yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah. You know, the only one that I didn't do that I really wish I had, you're going to laugh. I didn't get to go to Salem.
Oh.
Wouldn't have time.
Yeah, you'll have to come back and we'll go to Salem in the fall.
Okay, yeah. I want to, yeah, I'd love to go visit Salem.
Because that's when like they deck it all out and everything. It's really fun. So.
At what time of year?
Halloween.
I can only imagine.
It's very, very.
Yeah, I bet it is. I bet it is. Well, so I'm glad that we're all hanging out together. We have, okay, so this is the second time that you've been on Appy Hour, Hardik. So I'm glad that you are with us because you're back and you've again got more cool stuff to show us.
Yeah.
And as somebody who has been an Autoreview fan, what you've got to show us in the browser takes Autoreview to a whole different, I think I would say, ease of use. So well done.
I was just talking to the team here about it today.
Thank you.
Everyone who was on the show, and they're like, Autoreview. I'm like, yeah, we use it with all of our clients. So now in the firm I'm in, we have a lot more clients. So we wait. So
that's awesome.
Well, awesome. I'm going to share my screen.
Thank you. Yep, that's perfect.
So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And there we are. And we've got lots of friends joining us today. So hey, everybody, thanks for joining us on this lovely Tuesday. I'm coming at you from Providence. Liz is coming at you from Chicago. Hardik, where are you?
I'm from India.
You're in India. And what time is it in India? I have a feeling it's
This is 1:30 a.m.
1:30 in the morning. So thank you.
Well, we're glad you're here. Thank you.
So Liz, you want to introduce yourself?
I would love to. So I would like to say I'm going to call the traveler who also just happens to have a firm and some clients. And I wouldn't be able to do all of the things that I do if it wasn't for the fact that we're all virtual these days. So I feel like I'm at the moment living the dream.
It's awesome.
Being able to travel, being able to work, being able to enjoy my life and have good friends and good food. And Heather, I'm going to pass it over to you because that's where I'm going to land it right there.
That was awesome. So I'm Heather Satterley. I am the Chief Innovation Officer of Growth Lab, Finance as a Service in Providence, Rhode Island, and I lead the team here. We are focused on no-code and process automation, which is Satterley powered by Growth Lab, and I've been here now for almost a month. So, and today was the first time I have actually driven to work in over 5 years. So that was interesting for me. I'm like in my car, I'm like, wow, I'm driving to work. Like, this is kind of cool. Like, I haven't done this in a really long time. So, and there's people here and it's been a really fun day. So this team is just amazing. It's like every person I know and every, meeting we have, it's like these people, they're rock stars. Like, I'm so lucky to be part of this team. So lucky. I was like pinching myself. I'm like around all these brilliant people. It's amazing.
The studio is amazing. Like, that looks very posh.
Yeah, it's a really fun. It's all open. So we have a couple of offices, but it's pretty open and there's like Nerf guns and it's super fun. It's super fun. It totally reminds me of like when you go to the Intuit office and they have all the games and things to do. It's like that. And the people are just awesome. So anyway, enough about me. Really excited to have everybody with us. I'd also like to give a huge shout out to our champagne level sponsors, Ignition. Ignition was on with us last week. We did a big celebration, celebrating tax season being over and springtime and our health and everything else. We were just celebrating it all. And we just love having them as our champagne level sponsor this year. And we're really looking forward to all the amazing things we're going to be doing together. And we'll have more about some amazing things we're doing together a little bit later today. So thank you, all of our friends at Ignition Camp. And also a huge thank you and a huge welcome to Hardik. Thank you. We've had you on before. Liz said we've had you on before. You've shown us Autoreview when you guys were first out of the gate. We were really excited to have you on and share the magic of Autoreview and how it can really help to, really tighten up the quality of the work that's coming out of your accounting firm. And so, as Liz said, you have a lot of really, really cool things to show us today. It's been over a year since you've been on the show, and you guys have added a lot of new bells and whistles. So we're excited to have you with us again. Can you just tell us a little bit about you and your history and how Autoreview became a reality for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think as you briefly introduced, so I'm one of the founder at Xenett. By profession, I'm an accountant, but like I always loved playing around different applications, right? So before starting this application, I used to work somewhere. I used to manage clients at my own, and Autoreview was born from our own experience. Like it's not like one fine day we got an idea and we created it. It's like period of years that we ended up reviewing so many things, and we identified certain challenges around this review process, and that's how we kind of ended up developing Autoreview. So as a part of Zenit, Autoreview is just one of the app, and our goal at Zenit is to simplify and automate a lot of these accounting processes which are done traditional way or manual way, right? And with Autoreview, we wanted to automate and streamline the entire review process, right? So that's a quick brief as to how I turned from accountant being a founder of these apps like tech apps. So I mean, it's like our own passion towards technology that helped us designing this whole solution. So
Autoreview is just one of the applications in your portfolio, Zenit's portfolio, right? So we have not yet had some of your other solutions on Appy Hour, and I really look forward to introducing those to the world as well. Like, is it Port? Is that the name?
yeah, that's Zenit Port, which is mainly what it does is that whenever you have to do something with the bulk, like let's say you wanted to import transactions into your QuickBooks file, or you wanted to do a kind of cleanup, like you wanted to update so many transactions in QuickBooks, or if you wanted to delete so many transactions or list or anything. So anything that has to do in the bulk, like you can use Port for that. And then so that's already live, and our whole goal is to create an ecosystem. So that's a hub that we are kind of coming up with later this year. Hopefully we will have another show later this year to showcase that as well. But the whole goal is that we wanted to touch base on all these different accounting processes and wanted to simplify it. So hub is more like a project management tool where it's gonna streamline, it's gonna bring task management, client communication, kind of manage all your files. Review is already there, so it's going to connect different dots and bring them under one roof. So
that's really cool. I love it. And I've actually used Port. I used it on an engagement either in like over the winter sometime, and I really liked it. So I'm excited to see what else you guys come up with.
yeah.
All right, so our agenda for today's episode is we're going to go through a couple slides, and then Hardik's going to do an awesome deep dive demonstration of all of the power in Autoreview. We're going to have a drink, and then we're going to talk about next episodes and some other things to wrap up. So what is Autoreview? And Hardik, do you want to jump in, or can I go ahead and talk about it?
You can talk about it and I'll kind of jump in.
And you'll
So,
jump in wherever I get it wrong.
yeah.
Okay. So Autoreview, from a user standpoint, and the reason I'm jumping is because both Liz and I have used Autoreview with our clients. We actually used it with all of our clients. And what it is it's a dashboard. And just a little caveat, Autoreview is really near and dear to my heart because when I went to school for my master's, this is what I wrote my master's project about. I wanted a tool just like this. So it's pretty amazing. They have built something way beyond what I actually imagined, and I love it. But what it does is it hooks into your QuickBooks Online, and it actually goes through the database and finds, different issues that are really common in an accounting workflow. So duplicate transactions, unusual transactions. And what it does is it puts it in a really nice workflow so that you can go through each one of the components within Autoreview and kind of check them off as a checklist. So it really makes short work of going through a QuickBooks Online data file and actually looking at the data integrity. Are the accounts reconciled? Are they properly categorized? Are there duplicates? How many, do you have duplicates on the vendor list? Do you have duplicates on the chart of accounts? Things like that. So it's really powerful. And one of the things I really love about it is that it does have workflow built into it. So it's not like you just go in, plug it in, and it gives you a list of stuff. It actually walks you through your month-end close. And there's a whole process where you can collaborate with your team on the close process within Autoreview. How'd I do, Hardy? Did I do a good job?
Yeah, you perfectly kind of explained it well, and as you rightly said, I mean, see, the thing is that when we review, we really don't know where the problems are, right? So we end up checking everything, right? And when we end up checking everything, it takes so much of time. So with auto review, we wanted to filter the data, and we only wanted you to focus on the abnormal points, right? So that way you only dealing with the things that has got problems, and you don't need to check things that are right. So basically we are filtering out the data, right data, you don't need to worry about it. The problematic data, you kind of spend your time and fix that. So that's the whole concept of auto review. So
And I would even throw in there that the reason that I'm such a huge fan of being able to work inside of the browser is that it stops that piece of you that says, I need to be, because it's just part of our DNA to be perfectionists. And so we're constantly going through and we're reviewing and reviewing. And just like you said, we spend so much time in areas that there are no issues, there are no problems. And so because we're those types that need to continue to dig deeper, we waste so much time where the thing that happens inside of the browser is it just brings all of these problems to you while you're working. And this feeling of case by case or task by task, you're working, each of these items off of the list completes them, and you're not spending unnecessary time. So a huge fan.
yeah, so Heather, you're on mute.
All right.
Well,
Isn't that like that saying of today's world? I'm on mute. They actually at Growth Lab here, they actually had shirts made, and everybody has a shirt that says I'm on mute. But I think we need a sign, a little sign that comes up. So talking about use cases for auto review, we kind of talked about what it does, and I kind of mentioned that it's great for monthly reviews, but it's also good for year-end reviews. So going through, the diagnostics at the end of the year, diagnostic reviews just to look at the data integrity for pricing. So going through and looking at how messy is this QuickBooks file that a client wants us to clean up. And then also coach feedback for our firm's team. And Liz, you actually had one of our good friends come in when you first implemented auto review. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Tanya Hiltz.
Yeah. So talk about that for a minute.
So this is one of the reasons, and I hope that I'm staying stable. So if I'm not, like, pinch me, I'm sorry. But one of the things that we did was we constantly are training inside of our team, and I thought, wouldn't it be fun to pull an outside trainer and to be able to let the team hear from somebody else besides me. And so we planned it. You know, she's won so many accolades, Firm of the Future. She's had she also trained.
Hey, Liz, you're cutting out pretty bad, honey. You're cutting out pretty bad.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna let.
Okay.
Okay, I'll pass.
We're only getting like every
pass.
other word. So, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, like I said before, the way that Autoreview, Hardy's going to get in there and show us in Autoreview, the way that it's designed is it actually has a, it actually shows you, it has a list, it has a checklist, right? We're all about checklists. It has a checklist of the things you need to look at. So it really does become a really great training tool because you can teach your staff, just follow the breadcrumbs, right? Go through each one of these diagnostic areas and look at the data. And it does help you to learn how to do a really good discovery and a really good review of the client's data, for sure.
Okay, so am I back?
You are back. I'm wondering though, if you could call in your phone instead of using the internet, and that way we could at least hear you.
Well, I quit my camera, and so I took Dawn's advice. Yeah, so I was just sharing that, that Tanya Hiltz was definitely a big inspiration into our team and training. She has a whole plan. And so, you know, too, if you had somebody that you were trying to train, she would be somebody who's built some curriculum to help and assist.
Fantastic.
All right, so I'm still stable?
Yes, you're still stable. Do you want to jump into the slide?
Yes, I do. Oh, I'm just like biting at the bit. So the detects the 90% of errors. Okay, y'all can't see my smiling because I had to take it off camera, but the detection of errors, you know, I need something visual, and my team needs to be in the tool where they're working to be able to see the problems at the time. And it was like Hardik was talking about, you can't spend hours and hours of endless time just going and fishing throughout the entire database. You still need to have some type of direction. And so that auto detect of the errors gives you flags. I can't wait to see the browser versions because you're going to get to see what those detections look like. How am I doing? Am I still stable?
Yeah, you're still fine. We can hear you just fine.
Okay, cool. So that standard review process, that's going to be one of those things that, and this is just part of it, but one of the things that I like is when I'm thinking about my vendors, you know, expenses is a big place for things to go wrong. So if I'm thinking about the way that expenses have been categorized, and they've been categorized in 3 different ways in 3 different years, I can rely on Autoreview to be able to actually go through and look to see what's the percentage of usage in different categories. And I don't know that it's a real percentage, but it is able to call out areas that maybe are less common and maybe anomalies. And so would throw up and auto detect an error there to be able to say, you don't have a standard here in the way that you're categorizing this vendor. And then that pulls over into the accurate numbers, which is leading you to be able to say, can I rely on the reports that I'm getting because my categorization is correct? And then that detects, you know, errors in real time. Again, I'm going to go back to, this is part of where the time is saved, is that your sanity and being able to rely on those auto detection of the errors. What do you think, Hardik? Do you want to add more to what I just said?
No, you covered it right. I think we also wanted to bring more visibility because, see, it's like all these errors exist at different places, right? I mean, like if you are going into one report in QuickBooks, you kind of resolve some errors there, and then you go to another report. So there are errors, but these are also scattered. And one of the way that we wanted to do is bring all those errors together so that it's like more like a checklist that, okay, hey, here is the thing, you resolve it, then you move to the next one, right? So it's like, I mean, as I'm gonna share the screen, people will have more visibility as to what I'm talking about exactly. So
does it make sense for us to share the screen now? Hardik, are you ready? All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop my share, and then I'm going to make sure that you can share.
All right, so I'm just gonna share my screen. Okay, please ask the host to give you permission to record. Oh, sorry, I hit. Sorry,
Uh,
I hit there.
I'm
Host
trying to,
listed participant screen. I think you need to allow me to be
yeah.
able to share my screen.
So while y'all are figuring out the share screen, I'm just going to stop for just a second. I'm gonna say, one of the things that we do in our firm, and that's also are thinking about, is use cases. So this is like month-end review, this is year-end review, this is cleanup projects, this is doing any type of diagnostics, this is creating estimates. So there's all kinds of use cases for being able to look at, remember, we're looking at problems, we're looking at errors, we're looking at inconsistencies. So anytime that you're thinking about how you're going to work with a client and you're going to price an engagement, all of those are things that come to mind. So as Hardik, as you're looking at this, that these are all of these different kinds of use cases that you can use the solution for.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so what I'm gonna now do is that I'm gonna first talk about some of the basic features of Autoreview, and then we'll jump on the browser extension. So I just wanted to confirm you guys can see my screen, right? Okay, perfect. So this is a screen where you can see a list of all your clients, and you can also find out the status for each of them. Like this screen can tell you where does each client stand, right, in terms of review. All right, and then when you click on, let me just get into this client, one of the client, the unicorn, right? Now, once we into this client, Heather, the screen that you was just showing, it's like you can decide what you want to review. Like if you want to review like monthly basis, you can also click here and select a particular month. If you wanted to review the whole year, it's pretty flexible enough to pick and choose what period that you want to review, right? And let's say if you wanted to select the whole like 2020 or 2021, so like you have a full power to decide what exactly you want to review, and then you can run it. And this screen that we call as a speed mode now, which is where you can see a list of all the possible issues, right? And this is what I was exactly talking about, is that all of those review points are here in order, and you can go through each of those points one by one, and you can resolve them as well. So let's say for the purpose of this example, if I just select, let's say, this particular quarter, and there are a lot of these features we introduced, is that since our last episode was, you can now do bulk reclassification as well. Let's say if I'm into end categorized entries and I wanted to resolve them, I can either double click on it and make the changes, and the changes also gets updated back to the QuickBooks file, or I could select multiple transactions as well. Like I could select multiple transactions here, and from this panel, which is coming up from the top, I can decide if I want to reclassify all these transactions to any of the account, right? So it's pretty easy. I can choose the account, and all these transactions will move to that particular account, right? So you don't need to do any of those things one by one, but from the panel, I mean, I can select accounts at the same time, I can select the name at the same time. So that's another beauty, that you are into any of these review points, you're into, let's say, entries without class, and you can select multiple transactions, and you can do all of those points in the bulk, right? And these review points are pretty customizable, meaning you can decide what you want, what you don't want, right? And some of those things are also conditional. So example, if you are at all not using class or location, it's not going to even show up, right? So that's something you don't need to worry about that. However, let's say if there are something that you really don't want to see, you can decide, okay, hey, I really don't want to see entries without customer or project, correct? So that way you can click on configure, and you can unselect them as well. So at the client level, you have full power to decide what you want to see, what you don't want to see. All right, so that's a kind of pretty straightforward workflow, where you go through each of those points one by one and you resolve them, correct? So
I have a quick question for you. I mean, looking at the ability to go through each one of those data points, I'm wondering, has anyone, and Hardik, this is a question for you, has anybody, any accountants that are using Autoreview thought to use that in their pricing model that, during our review, we look at these certain things, but not these other things, because that's something that's really interesting. If you wanted to do like a review light, a review medium, a review like deep review, I think that there's a kind of the opportunity to price it in a different way. And I love that.
Yeah, and with the pricing also, like especially let's say if you're doing diagnostic review, right? So let's imagine I kind of selected the whole year. If I
Yeah.
see, for example, if I see these numbers are true, like 500 and 300 and 400 and things like that, that can tell me that okay, hey, it's gonna involve 100 hours of work, for example, right? And that will help me coach my client that okay, hey, this is gonna take you $5,000 or things like that. So that's one of the thing that can help you find out how much cleanup work is involved, and then you can figure out how much it's going to take from your end. So this is one way. And another thing that can also help you is that when you click on this dashboard, we do have this transactions count analysis by month, right? So this tells me the monthly volume. So I can see that okay, on an average on a monthly basis, I see around 150 transactions, right? So this can also help me how much it's going to take on a monthly basis if I need to provide services to this particular client. So I can also use this information, and this can also talk to me about the states in terms of the reconciliation. So if it is, let's say 2020 or 2021 and kind of too old, this can tell me that okay, hey, it's gonna involve a lot of cleanup work as well. So that would help me decide how much work is involved in terms of cleanup. All right, so that's that. And as like Heather, we just talked about, it's pretty flexible. You can do diagnostic review, year-end review, quarterly review, or monthly review as well. All right, so some of those things here are pretty self-explanatory, like entries without customer, without name, without location and class, and all of those points are configurable as well. Like when you click on entries without class, you have a option to configure as well. Like you can exclude certain accounts, right? So those things that you can configure here, you can export it into Excel. So some of those basic things are there. Now, we do have like a pretty cool report here, which is review expenses, right? And this is something I used to do it, is like I would export my whole general ledger into Excel, and then I would do kind of grouping and things like that, and I would like to kind of go through each of those things. Now here what we are doing is that we take all your expenses and group them into a meaningful summary, right? So imagine what happens in QuickBooks is that we go into one account, we look at long list of transactions, and we try to identify the errors from that, right? And then we repeat the same thing for almost every single account, right? So what we are doing here is that with this report, it's going to take all the expenses and put them into a meaningful summary, right? So it's pretty easy to kind of look at this information, because now you can see that okay, hey, this is the vendor, this is how it has been posted to, and these are different months, right? So and you can see certain flags. So if something is miscoded, like let's say in this particular case, generally you've been recording it to bank charges and fees account, and someone used different account, right? So Autoreview is smart enough to understand your trends, and it's gonna automatically flag certain items if it is off, right? So this is pretty simplest and fastest way of reviewing all the expenses, correct? So this is okay. Even in here, like SAM CPA. So I can see that generally I've been posting it to accounting, but in one of the month, let's say my junior made a mistake, right? And he put it to some other account. So Autoreview automatically flagged it. Likewise, even it flags the things where like there's inconsistency with the amount, right? So in this case, every month it used to be 400, but in one of the month, like it was 500. So it basically flagged it. And if you are missing something like Slack, I was paying every month, but in this month something was missing. So things like this, you don't need to go and look for it, but it's just gonna automatically catch and flag it for you, right? So it's pretty you you can drill down it, and you can also look at the transaction. So let's say if I have some problem here, I can click on it, I can look at the transaction, and I can fix it right here as well. All right.
I
So
love this. It also helps to keep, looking at these, these entries over the month helps you to identify if an entry was missed too, right? So if you're making a monthly accrual or prepaid adjustments, and then you're looking across and you're seeing that some of those are flagged, that can help you to, remind you, hey, you didn't make an entry, or maybe you entered it in the wrong period, right? How many of you have ever done that where you create the journal entry and you forget to put the period date, and so you post it as of today?
yeah,
Anybody ever done that? I've done that before. That would actually help you catch that.
I did too.
Oh my gosh. I mean, like big time. I'm thinking about rent. I'm thinking about payroll. I'm thinking about all different kinds of things that can reoccur. And just like you said, insurance, all of those are things that I look for every single month. But to be able to have it stand out to me, that's nice. That's helpful.
And
That makes it easy.
Talking about your different levels of staff too, Liz, like that's something that you and I would know to look for. But for some of our junior staff, maybe they haven't quite, gotten that yet. And this will help them to catch those mistakes that they wouldn't have caught previously.
Well, and learn where to look. Like that's one of my favorite things is these are the types of areas to identify as possible issues. And then once you start to learn those behaviors, that's where you start to be able to say, oh, okay, well, if it's in this type of client, then it should be in this type of client too. We're looking for merchant service fees. We're looking for whatever, it's just, you start to get aware of what to look for.
Yeah, no, that's right. And this is one that we introduced is that, and I think this is also helpful because especially QuickBooks pricing is now working based on the number of records that you have with the vendor or accounts rather. So this is where you can see list of all your vendors and with the last entry date. So I can see now that there are many of them which haven't been used for a while, but these are still active in my QuickBooks file, right? So what I can do is that I can select multiple of them and make them inactive because I can see, okay, this many haven't been used and I can make them inactive on one simple click, right? So this will help me make sure that I have a clean and accurate vendor, customer, and even accounts list in my QuickBooks file, right? So this is what we actually introduced recently. And another one that we also did was this account balance checks, which is where like when there are certain accounts, like we have some expectation. So for example, clearing account should show zero balance at the month end, right? So if there are clearing accounts which are not showing zero balance, it's gonna show up here, right? So you can quickly see that, okay, hey, I need to deal with these two conflicts. Likewise, there are some accounts where you expect positive balance, and there are some accounts where you don't expect positive balance, right? So for example, cash on hand, you can't expect negative balance for that, right? Or for that reason, let's say prepaid expenses or accumulated depreciation. I mean, you will always have expectation. So for example, as you can see here, cash on hand generally should be showing positive balance, but if it is negative, it's gonna show up here, correct? Likewise, rent. I mean, when you look at rent on your profit and loss, it should generally be positive, right? But if it is negative, it's gonna show up. So all of those things come automatically. So now I only need to deal with those conflict here, right? So that's another thing that we also introduced to highlight some of those abnormalities. I mean, there are many points here which are pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not gonna get into that much detail. It's like duplicate entries is one of the cool one because this is something and it's also smart enough. And look at this, the last one, Home Depot, right? So you got a bill for Home Depot and there was a payment for that as well. So ideally this payment was supposed to be adjusted against a bill, but what happened was someone recorded this payment and did not apply toward bills, right? So what happened was it resulted into duplication of the expenses. So things like this, Autoreview is smart enough to catch them. All right. So these are some of these review points, and you can also create your own review points. So in this particular case, like each clients would have their own way of reviewing things. Like in this particular case, I might say that, okay, hey, show me transactions in fixed asset that are less than $2,500, right? So depending upon each client needs, we can create our own custom review points, right? That will stay here and that becomes part of your workflow. So for example, in this case, I created this search that says fixed asset transactions less than $2,500. I don't see anything, so it's like it saves me time because I don't need to go to my general ledger or balance sheet and open every balance sheet account, I mean fixed asset accounts, and look for those transactions. It's just gonna be right available here. So I can create my own custom review points by applying various criteria here. So I could actually, there's so many criteria, and I can build my own custom review points as well. So not only we provide default review points from our end, but at the same time, if there are anything specific with your client, you can also create them here.
So we've had some questions about being able to do batch edits, and of course batch edits are possible. Do you mind showing some examples of batch edits?
Absolutely. So let's say, for example, I'm into this entries without name, and by the way, this table is like pretty flexible. Let's say I wanted to group by account. I can group by account, and I can see so many subscription dues and subscription account. So for now, let's assume that all these different transactions are for Slack, right? What I could do, I can select multiple of them, and the moment I select multiple of them, this panel will come from the top, and I can say that, okay, hey, all this transaction should go to Slack, right? If I wanted to assign the class location, I can do at the same time, and I can also save it right there, correct? And the moment I save it, it's gonna update the QuickBooks file as well. So it's pretty straightforward. I mean, all you have to do, just select the transactions and then decide what you want to change, right? At this point, you can only select, I mean, you can only change date, vendor name or customer name, account, class, location, or even apply or even assign customer job as well, right? So all of those things that you can do here. All right. So this is pretty straightforward now. I mean, all of those features are there in Autoreview, but recently we launched a browser extension. Now with this browser extension, what we are now doing is that we're kind of bringing the whole experience of Autoreview inside the QuickBooks file. So now imagine the life with QuickBooks is that every day I log into QuickBooks file, right? The moment I log into QuickBooks file, Autoreview start working in the background, right? It's gonna kind of like, let's imagine if I'm kind of right now logging into QuickBooks file, Autoreview will start scanning it, and it's gonna immediately tell you that, okay, as you can see on the screen, it says scanning. That means it's kind of scanning your data, and it's gonna tell you that, okay, hey, you got this many issues to work with, right? So imagine, why would I wait for month or quarter or year to end to resolve these issues when I can see it in front of me? So what I would generally do is that, okay, every day or every once in a week, I'm just gonna open it up and I'm just gonna quickly resolve this error. So I can click on it and I can see the entire Autoreview inside QuickBooks file, right? So that way I'm gonna like introduce this into my daily routine. That, okay, every month, it's like a antivirus thing, right? I mean, if we see a virus in our computer, we're not gonna wait for anything else, right? We're just gonna fix it right there. Same way, if I see that, okay, hey, this has got so many issues, I can fix it right here. So what it helps me is that now I don't need to remember to log into Autoreview and go there to fix it. It's like routine, like every day I'm gonna log into QuickBooks file and I'm gonna fix it right here. So this is one thing that we introduced with Xenett Autoreview. Another thing that we have is that I'm just gonna turn off my Teams because I'm just getting some notification. All right. So another thing that we introduced is that even in QuickBooks, let's say wherever you roam around, like let's say if I'm going into reports, and if I'm into profit and loss, and I'm reviewing, let's say, any accounts, I don't need to go and look for these issues. In fact, now all those errors will follow me, meaning wherever I go, and if there are any transactions with any of these issues, it's gonna flag it. So as you can see on the QuickBooks, now I can see the flags right here. So when I put my mouse on any of this flag, I can see that, okay, hey, this transaction has got class missing, location missing, this problem, that problem, right? So I'm not, even if I'm here for some different purpose, but if I see a flag here, right, I'm not gonna wait for anything. I'm just gonna simply open the transaction and gonna fix it right there and then, correct? So this is another thing that we basically introduce, is that wherever you roam around into QuickBooks file, if it has got any problem, it's gonna flag the transaction right there. All right, so that's another thing that we have done with extension. Then even attachment, like, I mean, personally, like, I wouldn't want to wait for transaction to open and then click on the attachment and then open. All I would do, there's an attachment icon here. When you click on attachment, it's like you don't need to go anywhere. It's just gonna open the attachment right here, correct? So that's also another thing that we basically introduced with this. All right, so this is the thing. Another thing we just introduced last week was, and this is personally I used to hate when I was reviewing profit and loss, because especially it's like you jumping between the reports. So I'll tell you what exactly used to happen with me in specific, and I'm just gonna tell you what we have done. So let's say if I am generating this report for, oops, sorry, 001, and then if I'm looking at by month, all right. So what happens is that whenever we are looking at profit and loss, different accounts need a different type of review. Like some accounts you might be comparing with the average, some accounts you might be comparing with the previous month, some accounts you might be comparing with previous year's same month. Now imagine if I like enable so many columns to review them, it's gonna be kind of overwhelming, because I mean I could enable so many columns or I could jump between the reports, but it's gonna be annoying, right? So what we did here is that wherever you go, you put your mouse on any of the amount and you can see the quick insight on any of the amount, right? You don't need to go anywhere, you don't need to calculate anything, correct? So what it does is that if I'm into any of this, I can easily see that, okay, hey, this March 2022 compared with previous month, it's compared with previous year's same month, it's compared with 6 month average, 3 months average, and it even tells us the variances as well, right? So I don't need to go anywhere or I don't need to calculate anything. It's just gonna be available right here, correct? So that's another thing we just introduced last week also. So that's the thing. And one more thing that we also introduced was, and this is something we just introduced one step of it. So what's gonna happen is that, let's say whenever you record any transaction, I'll have to see if, let me just see if I can find something. So what's gonna happen here is that, see, if there are transactions already existing into the QuickBooks file, and if I'm trying to record it again, it's gonna give me an error right there and then. So it's gonna even stop me from making the errors. So let's say, for example, I'm into this Sun Life Financial, right? I'll have to remember this date, 4/28, and it's 6/32. So let's see. So if I'm into this, hopefully I remember. So imagine if I'm recording this transaction here, and if I am making any mistake, it's just gonna be flagging it right here, right? So let's say things like this, it's gonna happen, possible duplicate entry. So it's gonna prevent the errors before it occurs, right? So see, until now errors have already happened and Autoreview is finding it, but moving forward we're gonna focus on things that we're gonna in fact prevent the errors before it occurs, right? So in whatever transaction form that you go, and if Autoreview finds, like let's say if I am missing a class here, even before saving the transaction, is gonna tell me that, okay, hey, you got a problem. Or if I'm using an account like parent account, it's gonna tell me that, okay, hey, you're using an account which is actually parent. So things like this is also gonna be, we're gonna send some sort of alert also. So there are a lot of things. I mean, it's just I would say the first version that we have launched with the browser extension, but our main goal is to bring the whole review experience inside the QuickBooks file. So you don't feel like you're doing bookkeeping at one point and you're resolving or reviewing at different point, right? It just go hand in hand, right? You don't do separately review for that. So Heather, you were saying something?
Yeah, I mean, the new thing now, like the thing that's really setting top firms apart now is the real-time accounting, right? Is the fact that
Exactly.
you're going into your client's file at least every week, if not every day, and you're making sure that the data is correct. And if there's missing something, you reach out to the client right away. Because
Yeah,
the ones that are doing it after the fact, that's all well and good, but there's a lot of firms out there that are doing that real-time accounting, and that's what clients really want. So this is an incredible way to differentiate your firm from the competition, is by implementing this. And when you're going in every day, you're making very short work of it, especially if you do
exactly.
like the bank rules and the, and the other automation features. This is a real thing. You can do it. And at the end of the month, you reconcile, it takes you 5 minutes, your reports are ready, right?
Exactly, and that's what I said. Like, you don't need to if you, let's say, resolve this on a daily or weekly basis, you hardly have to do when the month ends, right? At the month ends, you kind of doing a very high level review, so that's also going to reduce probably the stress that you might be taking at the month end, because at the month end you reviewing so many clients at the same time, right? But if you kind of do it on a regular basis, it's going to be a lot easier when the month ends, right? So our main focus, as I mentioned, is now going to be more towards this. Like, we are introducing so many checkpoints with this browser extension so that it finds every single and every possible error, and it does not basically want you to wait till the month end, right? It prompts you to resolve it right there and then when it occurs. That's a whole over. I mean, there are so many things in auto review. I mean, I definitely cannot cover, but the whole purpose of this episode was to promote the real-time review. We want people to not wait till the month, but just see the issue and fix it right there and then, so that you can have accurate books on the go, right? So I'm not sure if I haven't looked at the chat, and I'm not sure if there are any questions or anything, but
I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll. I think this is a good spot for that. So if you'd like to learn more about auto review, just go ahead and answer yes. And we're going to send that list over to Hardik and his team. Wow, everybody's interested.
Okay, so
that's awesome.
I'm going to add in a little thought here, because one of the things that I noticed once we installed the browser extension, do you see at the top of the unicorn, which I think I love the name of this company, QBO company, thank you. Anywho, but one of the things that I noticed is that once I had the browser extension installed, then I was able to also see that browser extension for all of my other clients, which was a prompt to be able to say, all of the other clients need to also have this too. And so there were some questions about who sees this. Well, it's the browser user who has installed it and is paying for that service, of course, is the one that's going to be able to see it. So no, I don't think that clients are going to be seeing this, because I don't think they're going to be subscribing to this service. And even if they did, I don't think that they still want to do the work. I think that's still on us, y'all. But but this does help our job to be a whole lot more efficient. And once it's installed, it is very easy to sign up the rest of your clients. So I did want to go ahead and add that.
The other thing I would say, Liz, is even if client did use this tool, if they did install the extension, clients will see them come up, but they're not going to understand what they mean, and they're not going to understand how to fix them. So it's, I think that's the thing that we see a lot with QuickBooks Online, is that, people implement it because they're like, anybody can do it. And they get in and there's a lot of, anybody can create an invoice, anybody can enter a bill, anybody can do this. But when something goes wrong, not everyone can resolve an issue. And that's our secret sauce as accounting professionals and pro advisors, is that we know what to do when things go wrong. So I don't think that's ever going to be an issue where clients are wanting to use this tool, because even though it's telling them what's wrong, they have no idea how to fix it.
Yeah,
I agree with that. And, the other part of that too is I would say that, they're subscribing to services. They want those services. And so part of the services is to make it accurate. And just because it's easy for us doesn't mean that we're non-valuable. It's actually, you and I, Heather, we're always saying on the Appy Hour that we want tools to be brought to us. Bring it to us. And Hardik, that is what you have done, is you have brought a tool to the environment that we are working in, and is easy for us to be able to utilize for our clients, all of our clients, and we're able to do it in real time, like you said, at the transactional level, at the review level, at the month end level, at the estimate level. So this is a tool that I definitely believe is part of the workflow. It's not just an add-on, as sometimes we say is add-ons. This is part of the workflow.
It is. I'm going to go ahead and close out the poll. If you haven't voted, could you guys please vote? I'm going to count you down. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Thank you. All right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, very exciting. Can you do me a favor, Hardik? Would you show us how to end the review period? I want people to see how the work, because I feel like that ties it up with a happy bow to say, once you've gone through and resolved all these issues, there's a way to actually, basically close it, right? To basically say, we've reviewed it, we've gone through it. Now we're going to, to close it out.
So what's going to happen here is that first you need to select the month or period, and you're basically going to start it. And then when you start it, you need to click on this start review, and it's gonna then so the app will then understand that you're about to start the review for this particular period, right? So what's gonna happen here is that, okay, I'm just gonna get started. So what this means is that, okay, hey, I'm reviewing right now April 2022, right? Now we do have a sign off process as well. What I mean by sign off process is that, see, for example, let's assume that there are no transactions in here, right? I'm just gonna sign off it, and when I sign off it, this percentage gets increased. So as a user, my goal is to reach 200%, right? And eventually see all the zeros here. So this is 0, this is 0, this is 0, this is, so my goal would be that, like, if there are any problems, I'm gonna resolve it and get rid of them. So eventually it gets to 0, and this when I do sign off, this percentage gets increased, and it eventually reaches to 100%. And when it reaches to 100%, I'm gonna end the review process then, right? So that way I'm just gonna be able to tell system that, okay, hey, I'm about to start the review process and I'm about to end the review process, right? So that's gonna be the workflow when you kind of start the review process. So
awesome. And just so everybody knows, we did do a deep dive with Autoreview previously. And so if you want to see in detail how to use these features inside the actual app itself, go back to our Appy Hour archive, which is on our website, the Appy Hour, and you can watch the deep dive into how to go. And we showed a lot of it. Hardik showed you a lot of it today, but there definitely is a little bit more of each of the different diagnostics in that other episode. So you definitely want to check that out.
And I would even say too, if you're somebody who maybe tried Autoreview for a minute and then was like, oh wait, maybe there's it's more complicated than I thought. Make sure that you try the browser, because I would say that, again, that concept of being able to have this technology brought to you, it's right there inside of QuickBooks. It's right there while you're working, and it really does. For anybody who sometimes says, I want to try an app, but I'm not really sure I'm going to actually use it, this would be one that I would highly encourage you to try, because it's right inside of QuickBooks. It's while you're doing the transactions, just like Hardik was showing whenever he was creating the expense transaction, but there wasn't something quite right, even at the level of entry, being able to have that warning, that's training opportunities. So I would say even for our team, those are training opportunities. Whenever our clients are entering transactions and our team are then going back and reviewing. So all of those flags that pop up, all of those are learning moments to be able to say to your team, these are where we're looking for issues. This is the types of things that we're looking for. And it makes then going through and solving all kinds of stuff before month end or quarter end or year end a whole lot easier.
Yep, that's right.
Fantastic. Well, we have, do you have anything else to show us, Hardik, in the app? We'll go back.
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share our slides.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop doing it. Okay.
Okay. So These are just some of the additional use cases. These are some testimonials, and this deck will be available on our website if anybody's interested in downloading it. Time to raise a toast. We're so into learning about Autoreview that we forgot to raise our toast, and our drink was the Autoreview martini. Yum. I did not have an Autoreview martini, but I did have a blood orange drink, which was in the same spirit of the Autoreview martini. And I am going out to dinner tonight with my team, and I may have an Autoreview martini.
Unfortunately, the state I'm living in, the liquor is not permitted, so I'm just gonna have a water today.
Well, then I will tell you, Hardik, I drank for both of us. We got you covered. They're covered.
Maybe in Orlando.
Yeah. A question, Hardik. Miriam's asking, is there a report that you can, generate when you're finished to show what you have done?
We don't have at this point any sort of report yet. I mean, it's just within the app that's available right now. But that's gonna be available in future because we do have it in our roadmap. So we do plan to print some sort of report as well out of the system. But for now, the answer is no. So
I think it would be really cool to have that for the quoting. Like if you're doing a diagnostic review for a client, to say, like not tell them how to fix it, but to say, here's all the stuff that's wrong with your QuickBooks, and here's what it's going to cost me to fix it.
Yeah, that's yeah, you're right. I think even with the diagnostic report, we do have our own whole thing which is coming up, just specifically talking about the diagnostic itself. So that's gonna be available most likely in Q3. So
awesome.
We'll see.
Camp, Heather, camp. Oh my gosh, please let me go. Okay, so am I cutting up or am I good?
No, you're great, Liz. Go for it.
Oh, okay, so camp. So many of you got to hear a big reveal last week. Hardik, you haven't even got to hear about this. So we're having an Appy Hour Camp, and Appy Hour Camp is going to be in the setting of the place where Dirty Dancing took place. So we're going to be in the retreat at a hotel where we're going to be getting together, and the purpose is to be able to say, what is the message that we're trying to share across? So as educators, Heather and I really try hard, and a lot of our community we try hard to share new ideas and new thoughts. But the way that we do that is by connecting with our developer buddies. We want to hear what our developers have to say. We want to be able to tell them what we're seeing with our clients. So this is an opportunity for us to be able to get together in a small environment. And so it is intentional, and it is for educators, and it is this retreat to be able to say, we want to be able to pull together these ideas, these concepts that we want to bring to life, and to have a singular message and a cohesive training and education that we bring forth to our peers.
Absolutely. I mean, let's face it, technology is shaping our industry. And, accountants need to have something to say about that, right? And so the way that we have a voice is by having these types of opportunities to meet with the folks that are creating the technology that we use every day and that our clients are using. So, really this is about empowering educators to help the greater community. And we're really excited to bring this to our community. No, Don, the Mountain Lake Lodge is actually in Virginia. It's in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. It's actually, I'm going to go to the next slide. This kind of talks about what it is. It's really the center of app developers, accounting educators, and up and coming educators. One of the things that Liz and I really wanted to do was to help those folks that they have something to say, they have something to contribute to our community, but just need that foot in the door to get at the table and start having these conversations. So, the event really is for the established educators, it's for the developers, and then it's for aspiring educators that are really, this is what their future is. They have something to say, and they really want to start engaging more. So that's what Appy Hour Camp is all about. So these are just some of the things that we're going to be doing at Appy Hour Camp. We have the innovation station, which is or the ideation stations, which is basically where we're going to be talking with the developers and ideating about what their products are doing and what we as accounting professionals would like to see. We'll have the Innovation Lounge where we can hang out and talk about cool, new, futuristic accounting technology and topics. And then we'll have the fireside chats every evening, which we'll be leading, having some of our community lead talks about really important issues that are happening within our greater accounting community. So if you want to learn more, you can go to appyhourcamp.com and you can apply to attend. There is an application. There are qualifications to be accepted into it. There's only going to be about 70 people that are able to attend the event. So you do need to fill out an application, and the criteria for who is eligible to apply is right on our website. So please do check it out. And we hope to see you there. So Hardik, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been really, really awesome. I'm so excited. You guys have done so much in the short time since we were last together, and I'm super excited.
Yeah. Thank you.
You've got a lot of things that you've done and you've developed, and you've listened to our community, and it shows. It shows. We're grateful and we're appreciative.
Our CEO popped in. I don't know if you guys saw him, but he popped in while you were going through your demo, and he's like, "What is that? What is that?" He's like, "We need to learn more about that." I'm like, "All of our clients are." So yeah, so that's pretty exciting. So
I'm going to walk us through this part really fast because I want to make sure that everybody knows that, yes, of course, you can go to the Appy Hour Lounge Facebook page, and of course, you can look at our website for sponsoring. But let's go over to the next slide because I want to see what's coming up next is truly exciting to me. So we have Joe Woodard, who's going to be coming on in May, and so he's going to be talking about invoicing, so rescuing scope creep and other ways you give away your services. I mean, like, isn't that the truth about what a lot of us do? We also have the Accounting Web Live that's coming up, so like crazy cool. Client Hub is going to be on, so onboard, engage, and empower. Like she's got Judy's got a powerful message, and I'd love to hear about her. She also recently sold her firm. Cool stuff that I want to hear about. And then we also have Avalera that's coming up, and we're going to be doing a deep dive, which is going to include Stump the Expert. So that'll be fun. You get to ask sales tax questions and see if you can stump Avalera. Fun. And then we have Scaling New Heights that we're going to be live. So that's going to be super cool. And then we're going to have just a cool Appy Hour cocktail party. And then Corpay will be on later on. We'll be able to learn from a pro advisor with an open mic.
We just started, I mean, not that I'm not going to be the pro advisor, but we actually just started implementing Corpay within our firm. So we're onboarding a bunch of clients this week, and I'm very excited about it. So very, very fun.
We have lots of cool stuff coming up.
We sure do. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hardik. Thank you too.
Thank
Is that
you.
an Autoreview? Absolutely. I know you need to go to bed. It's very
Thank you for staying up with us. Thank you for sharing what you've created with our audience and our viewers. I am sure I'm just one of these audience members who just happens to be able to be here and speaking, but thank you. I mean, I really am appreciative of all of the listening that you have done, and you've taken that feedback and really turned it into something that's a very special solution for us.
Yep. Thank you.
All right.
Until later, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Yep. Bye-bye.
I'm going to go board my flight. Bye, all.